Thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Foreign Affairs spokesperson and Public Diplomacy Director General Ambassador Dina Mufti said attempts by Egypt and the Sudan to portray the GERD to the international community as a threat is disregarding and politicizing the matter. Ambassador Dina also underlined that Ethiopia is still in good faith to solve the dispute peacefully through diplomacy. Kasahun Chani reports.
The spokesperson and Public Diplomacy Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Ambassador Dina Mufti, has given the ministry's bi-weekly press briefing. In his presentation, the ambassador focused on political diplomacy with a focus on situations regarding the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam negotiations, the Ethio-Sudan border dispute, economic diplomacy, capacity building and citizen-centered diplomatic activities. Ambassador Dina recalled that last week's talks beyond the three countries' negotiators heading to the Democratic Republic of Congo ended in disagreement, stating Ethiopia had gone to Kinshasa for the talks to ensure that Africa's problems by Africans through diplomacy.
The trilateral negotiations that has taken place in Kinshasa under the auspices of the African Union, particularly the chairmanship of the DRC, unfortunately, that could not succeed because of the differences of the agendas. We at our delegation, Ethiopian delegation, has highlighted the need for continuing the African process, the African-led process, because we believe in the African capacity of solving its own problems, though the other side, other negotiators, were not very much interested in the success of this process. We are saying they are not interested in the success of the process because we can cite cases whereby they have derailed the African leadership.
Ambassador Dina said attempts of Egypt and Sudan, who claimed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam as a threat to foreign bodies, was unnecessary, and it was politicizing the matter, underlining that Ethiopia is always ready in good faith to solve the dispute in a peaceful manner.
When Egypt was the chairmanship of with the chairman of the AU, they have taken this agenda to the United States unnecessarily. This is a disregard to the African Union. After the South Africans assumed the chairmanship, they have boycotted negotiations close to 7 times. And now they have continued the same instance, and we really are not happy with these instances. And we are committed, this negotiation should continue, and this negotiation should be led by the Africans, and Ethiopia is really committed to it.
Dina also stressed that cooperation and a spirit of African brotherhood are the best options for the management and utilization of the waters of the Nile.
As the decade-long negotiation over the GERD finds itself in a deadlock, Egypt and the Sudan seem to be demanding a binding agreement before the operation of the mega dam. This comes as the construction of what is thought to be Africa's biggest dam is in an advanced stage. Meanwhile, Ethiopia has disclosed its unwavering stance on the issue of a binding agreement. The following reportage by Goshu Maliso takes us through the latest events regarding the GERD.
Since the very inception of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Egypt was restless to thwart its construction. Despite Egypt's concerns about its share of Nile waters, Ethiopia has made it clear that it will stick to the principle of no significant harm as well as a win-win solution. Ever insistent on thwarting the construction of the dam by any means, Egypt said on Tuesday that it has sent letters to the UN Security Council, UN Security Council Chief, and the President of the UN General Assembly, explaining all the latest developments and stages of negotiations. Ethiopia has stressed the necessity of an African-led solution to reach a win-win outcome. It has emphasized that the most practical and workable way for a successful negotiation is first to agree on the first filling and related operations, and then to proceed to a comprehensive agreement on the utilization of the waters of the Nile. This, Ethiopia says, is in line with a communique issued by the African Union Bureau of the Assembly in July 2020. Egypt has been saying the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam will collapse due to the unfavorable geology, but the dam is still erected and progressing well. Recently, Egypt's self-made water professor is propagating the usual false propaganda here that a 50% of chance that the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam will collapse. But the case is far from the truth that Egypt has used the false propaganda as a weapon. The international water experts assured that the GERD has no such threats. Last week, Egypt's President Sisi was bragging that no one can take a single drop of water. Addis Ababa rejected a Sudanese proposal backed by Egypt to form an international quartet mediation made up of the African Union, the United Nations, the European Union, and the U.S. Ethiopia plans to move forward with the second filling of the dam, set to take place in July, despite objections of Egypt and Sudan over the execution of such a move in the absence of a legally binding deal. The second filling aims at collecting around 18.4 billion cubic meters of the Blue Nile water, up from 4.9 billion cubic meters secured during the first filling last year. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi called on Ethiopia last week not to compromise Cairo's share of Nile water, saying all options are possible. Ethiopia's stance in favor of an African solution has been supported by Russia's Foreign Secretary Sergei Lavrov.
All the three countries come together. The other countries need to set up the right environment for this.
Meanwhile, the Kenyan printing media, The Standard, said that Sudan and Egypt must stop beating drums of war over Nile Dam project. The newspaper wrote that neither Egypt nor the Sudan can claim absolute possession of the Nile water.
The Federal Supreme Court established 26 election tribunals to receive complaints and appeals regarding the upcoming 6th general elections Ethiopia is about to hold. In an exclusive interview with ETV, President of the Federal Supreme Court, Maza Shanafi, said establishing election tribunals is imperative to ensure election integrity. Solomon Danyi has more.
None of the previous 5 elections in Ethiopia were free from disputes and controversies. Courts fell short to properly handle election disputes, and they were overwhelmed by complaints and appeals following the conduct of the elections. Absence of separate election tribunals was one of the major contributing factors for the appeals not to be addressed properly. Learning from past mistakes, the Federal Supreme Court established 26 election tribunals to receive complaints and appeals regarding the 6th general elections the country is set to hold in a few weeks' time.
በፌደራል መጀመሪያ ደረጃ ፍርድ ቤት አንዳንድ ዳኞች አሉበት 11 ችሎቶች
We have established 11 election tribunals that consist of 1 judge each under the Federal First Instance Court, 10 tribunals that consist 3 judges each under the Federal High Court, and close to 5 tribunals under the Federal Supreme Court. Judges who are assigned to see cases in these tribunals have received special training pertaining to election-related disputes. We really care about the decisions that are going to be made. Our judges need to prepare themselves to pass accurate verdicts based on knowledge and international practices.
According to the President, these tribunals have already started to see complaints so far.
We have so far received 1 complaint regarding election in our first instance court and close to 10 cases in the Federal High Court. Most of the complaints are about election registration. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia denied them registration based on its own rules and regulations. The court already gave verdict on 8 of them, and Supreme Court is looking into a few appeals following the decision of the High Court. So we're not challenged so far.
Mars underscored the need to build trust about the court she is leading and urged all actors of the election to discharge their responsibilities so as to minimize disputes.
Competing political parties today debated on the issue of rule of law and democratization. Organized by the electoral desk of the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation, EBC, the event brought together the ruling Prosperity Party, the Ethiopian Citizens for Social Justice, EZEMA, the National Movement of the Amhara, NAMA, the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Party, EPRP, and the Freedom and Equality Party. The first such event to be organized this year ahead of the polls in June, the debate will continue on selected topics like foreign policy, security, macroeconomy, and land issue.
አንተ ባለ ባቡሩ ድሬ ናፈቀኝ ሲመሽ መዞሩ ድሬ ናፈቀኝ ሲመሽ መዞሩ ባለጋሪ አንተ ባለ ባቡሩ ባለጋሪ ሁሉም ወጥቷል ፍቅሩን ቢያወራ
The old town is surrounded by a wall with 5 of the original gates that are kept shut from dusk to dawn.
Welcome back. World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, commended Ethiopia's commitment to promote universal health coverage, UHC. Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, WHO Regional Director for Africa, met with President Sahle-Work Zewde and discussed various issues, including activities underway to promote universal health coverage in Ethiopia. The regional director further appreciated Ethiopia's continued partnership with the WHO to promote UHC despite the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization has inaugurated a national and regional emergency medical team training center in Addis Ababa.